Viewers, listeners, welcome to another edition of Blighty Talks Bricks. Before I introduce my guest today, it occurred to me that when we were considering putting this podcast together, there was a number of items that we needed for the criteria of our guests. When this lady was put forward to me, it struck me that she actually ticked all the boxes of what we were looking for at the very outset of this adventure. And what I mean by that, we were looking for people that were passionate. We were looking for people with a great work ethic. We were looking for people that were very caring. We were ideally looking for people that had an interest in sport. Somebody that was involved in the construction industry. Somebody that had experienced adversity. Somebody that had helped charities. That kind of person was what we were looking for. And my guest today ticks all of those boxes. She's also a female in the industry, and it's, however we want to cut it or shape it, it's a male-dominated business. She actually sells bricks for a living. Blighty Talks Bricks. This lady sells bricks for a living. I've never met anyone that sells bricks. So for me, I found that quite humorous. And she's got a love, or I should say she had a love of Arsenal. So I'm really looking forward to the podcast, and I'm really excited and really honoured to introduce Laura Watson. Laura, welcome to Blighty Talks Bricks.
Thank you.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I just want to start before we get into, I know we've got lots of things to talk about. Laura and I, this is the first time we've met.
Yeah.
We've had a telephone conversation. So I am excited because you and I have sort of touched on a few things. But before we get too carried away, how did you get the Arsenal in your life?
Yeah, sorry, I don't perhaps love Arsenal as much as you anymore. I grew out of it.
Well, if they don't keep doing well, I won't love them either. So.
As a child, I was much more a tomboy. Instead of sort of talking, I probably still am slightly, but instead of talking girly things and makeup, I'd be playing football at break or doing something probably that I shouldn't have been doing. And all the boys like Arsenal, so I thought I'd just follow a bit like a sheep and support Arsenal at the same time.
And no family members Arsenal?
No. Dad's a Scot, and still to this day, unfortunately, wears his Motherwell strip with pride.
Does he really?
Yeah. So no other football supporters ever.
Well, your tomboyism.
Yeah.
Definitely, in my opinion, put you on the right journey. So,
yeah.
So I'm wearing this because I did see a picture with you in an old Arsenal shirt, and I looked in my.
I'm glad you've not got that picture today.
Well, I have actually got it on my phone, so don't trust me; it might come out at some point. But so, welcome to the Arsenal family, and we'll keep you attached, and we'll keep talking about the team as we go forward. But you also have a big interest in sport as well, don't you? Generally.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm not doing something outside or sporty, I'm not happy.
And would I be right in saying that you was a very good netball player?
Yeah, as a kid, it was one of my many things that somehow my parents managed to keep up with me as to everything I wanted to do and ferry me around places and allowed me to do.
And where did your netball career take you? I mean, you mentioned a few things earlier, but for the viewers and listeners.
Yeah, so I played club, county, and was in the England Under-17 Talent 1, I think it was called, at the many years ago when I was an Under-17. So in like the long squad training and development programme.
The Roses.
Yes.
We have some members of staff that play netball, and so
yeah, it's a great sport.
It is pretty aggressive, isn't it?
It's the most non-contact sport I think you can find. I think I've got bruises all over my body, played a game on Saturday and ended up on the floor multiple times.
You're still playing?
Yeah, I'm still playing. I had a little, about 9 years I didn't touch a ball for because I was too busy doing other things with my life. But yeah, found it again, really enjoyed it. Still play it. I probably shouldn't. I had a hip replacement in 2022, so I probably shouldn't be playing. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I've got one of those as well, but
they're great, aren't they?
Well, they are. Yeah. Thankfully, mine works, and by the sound of it, you're playing netball. Yours works as well.
It does. I don't know if I should tell my surgeon that I'm playing netball, how I am, but what he doesn't know doesn't hurt.
So, I also know that your real passion was to do with horses.
Yes.
Do you want to tell me more about that?
Yeah. So horses I wouldn't say from the moment I was born, but from very much when I went to nursery school. My best friend at nursery used to get picked up on a Shetland pony.
Really?
Yeah, and
Sweet,
I know. And I was like, I want to go on the Shetland pony. So then I think 2 ponies got brought down, and I used to go to play at hers after school. And once you're bitten with the horse bug, I don't think you can get rid of it. So yeah, I was very fortunate, got to compete all through my youth, multiple different sort of
Gymkhana kind of stuff?
Yeah, so like starting at Gymkhana, then through the pony club and eventing in the pony club, dressage, show jumping. Tetrathlon was a great love of mine. So it's like the sport below sort of what is modern pentathlon in the Olympics. So you run, you swim, you shoot, and you horse ride. And that was great fun because it linked everything that I loved. It linked the horses, it linked a bit of sport, and really, really, really very fortunate that I got to do all of that in my childhood.
So your love and passion for horses and sport, when you got to 16, you left home?
Yes. So obviously I have a little bit more than cotton wool between my ears, so I've got a bit of a brain somewhere. But
you're in front of me on that one.
But I hated applying myself to anything academic. I'd be, in a classroom and looking out the window and thinking, this really isn't for me. It's really not for me. So I did my GCSEs. I blagged my way to some average fine results. I was registered to do my A-levels, but in the meantime, I'd been writing to all of the riders I could find their addresses of that were either on a team that year or at the top of the sport saying, hi, this is my name. Can I come and work for you? And a lady called Jeanette Breakwell responded to me, who was up in Leicestershire. And
where was you living at this time?
Berkshire, so just outside Reading.
Okay.
So I broke it to mum and dad that I was going to go and do 8 weeks work experience in the summer between GCSEs and A-level.
So did mum and dad know that you were writing all these sort of, Dear John kind of letters, I want to run to the circus, I think you used the word earlier.
Yeah, that's what mum accused me of, running away to join the circus. But yes, they did know, they knew I was writing, and it was so exciting when I got the odd letter back, obviously saying, sorry, we're full, or we couldn't. But when this one letter came back from Jeanette, I remember being like, oh my God, this is absolutely amazing. And she obviously was on the British team, had the most amazing horse over to you at the time, and I thought, oh, this is it, I've really made it. I'm going to go and do, follow my dream. I got up there, and within a few days, they sort of said, well, why don't you come and be a working pupil, be an apprentice for us and, stay here.
So, forgive me, so an apprentice in eventing is you live on site?
Yes.
And you're with the horses day in, day out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Be that looking after them, mucking them out, feeding them, exercising them.
Yeah, doing absolutely everything, care, going to events, grooming. Some of the working pupils had their own horses. I didn't at that point. I think I just lost a horse. And I don't know what the pay is like now. I'm quite out of the horsey world in that.
It's not a lot.
You got somewhere to live and you got a bit of money to buy, some beer. Value beans or something, or beer, No, I was 16, I wasn't allowed to drink, obviously. But and that was definitely the foundation for giving me a good work ethic. And because I was so passionate and so driven, that was absolutely what I wanted to do. It didn't strike me that, you get up at 2:00 in the morning to get horses to go ready.
2 in the morning?
If you had an event.
I'm not even going to bed sometimes.
No, well, we probably weren't. You probably hadn't, because we'd been doing the same. But in the eventing season, you've got an early dressage test, you've got a lorry full of horses, you're at the event all day, you're grooming, you get back at 11 o'clock at night, you turn the lorry around, and the next day you do the same thing. And they're animals at the end of the day. So you've got your competition schedule to keep up with, but your day doesn't just finish at 5 o'clock because it's 5 o'clock.
And so you're working for people that got horses, you're working for the lady that employed you.
Yeah.
Do you get the opportunity of a break where they say, try this horse or try this in an event? How does that work? Yeah,
so I think each place probably depends upon how many horses that they've got, how many owners they've got. I ended up riding a lot of the young horses, like breaking them in, backing them, being a crash test dummy, I suppose.
I was just going to say, because there's no key, there's no turn on and turn off. They've got a mind of their own. And they go quickly. Yeah, and it goes wrong quickly. Yeah. And you can fall off. Yeah, and it hurts quite a lot. Yeah. I get that impression that it would hurt. Yeah, until I was made of rubber until I wasn't, and then things broke. So then you started breaking bones and bits and pieces. Yeah, then I had the odd break. So. And that's where the hip replacement ultimately comes from? No, I don't think so. I think that comes from my sporting background.
and too much, probably falling off horses didn't help it at all, I'm sure. But I ended up with an impingement in my hip, and it can develop from sort of too much sport too young.
So where did your, I'm going to say success pattern because I'm associating success with you already because that's the feeling you leave me with. Where did your success come in the eventing world?
What do you mean, sorry?
In terms of the way that you carried on in that. How many years was you in the eventing world?
Yeah, so I stayed where I was. I had a little break. I went to America for a short period of time. And then I set up on my own when I was about 20. So I had just a very small sort of setup by myself and had horses in for training and breaking and backing and eventing. And then, it was 27 at the point that horses are a tough industry to make money out of.
Yeah.
And I made a lot of mistakes. And I think I made a lot of those mistakes not because I didn't want to work and I didn't work the hours I needed to, but because I didn't value my time and value my ability properly. So I didn't have a very good business brain, really. So you can do a lot for sort of love.
It's a very honest statement.
Yeah, I messed up.
I'm still making mistakes, trust me.
Yeah.
In business, still making mistakes.
But that's the best way. You should never be afraid to fail because that's when you learn.
Absolutely.
And I've done a lot of it. So I hope I've learned a bit now.
And so at what stage did you go, I love eventing, I love horses, I love my sport, but actually I want to earn some money. This is a tough business for me to make money. At what stage did you go, I've got to change direction?
At the stage that I turned myself into a human javelin and fell off a horse, landed very, very badly like this, and bone was in the wrong direction. And I sat in hospital and just thought to myself, I can't keep doing this. It's I'm not making the money. There isn't a future. I've given it my absolute best shot. I've had a lot of fun. I've still jumped around some amazing events.
That's success, though, isn't it? The fact that you've had a lot of fun and you've given it I don't think sometimes people realise they judge success the wrong way. Success is by, I've really enjoyed it, and I've given 100%.
Yeah.
I've learnt a lot, and now that chapter finishes. It's time for me to start a new chapter. That is success.
Yeah, yeah.
So you actually were sitting in a hospital bed again, another broken bone again, and you said, come on, I've got to do something different.
Yeah, and I had no idea what at that stage. I just knew.
And what age are you at this time?
35.
So you've got 35 years of age, and you're sitting there, and you've got no.
Oh no, but sorry, I thought you meant at this moment in time. I was 27 then. Yeah.
Right, so you was 27, and you decided then, right, that's it. I've got to change, but you didn't know what you wanted to do.
No.
So, I think I know a lot of people at various ages are in that stage at the moment.
Yeah.
How did you manage to find the key to open the door to move to the next stage?
So I knew my now boss through horses. And one day when we were out riding, he had set up a cycling team the year before called MVL, which is No Visible Lycra. And we were just chatting, and he said, we'll get you on a bike this year. And I was like, I'll give it a go. Like, I'll never say no to an opportunity or to try something. So we had a trip planned across France, which was going to be a 650-mile sort of 7-day trip. Did a lot of training for it, and then the accident happened. So about 10 days before this trip, I fell off, landed like a javelin, smashed my collarbone, and had to have it operated on. So I said, I'll put my bike on, I'll perhaps cycle a little bit. But I ended up cycling every single mile of the trip. On the second to last day, did a cartwheel over my handlebars of my bike.
Maybe gymnastics was the sport you should have.
I'm not very good at landing, so I think I'm good at the aerial bit, but not at the landing bit. Ripped my elbow open, ended up in hospital in France, had that stitched up, and then the next morning I was back on my bike, ready for the next 100 miles. And within that week, I'd been speaking to James and saying, what am I going to do with my life? I have no qualifications. I left school and home at 16. All I am qualified for, to put it very bluntly, is to shovel horse poo quite well. What do I do? So after we finished this trip, he just sort of sat and we had a bit of a chat, and he went, you're either brave or stupid. Do you want to sell bricks and see how it goes?
Literally like that.
And I was like, yeah, why not? That sounds quite good.
And so you joined the industry by meeting a man that makes bricks, finds bricks?
We're a factor, we're a middleman, so we sell anybody's brick.
And he got to know you, and he liked what he saw in you.
And gave me a chance, which not everybody's fortunate enough to get that, and I will, be forever
What's the
grateful.
company called?
James Mossman Limited.
And so you're in the industry now, the property, an industry that I love.
Yeah.
I've been in for 40 years. I've never met anyone that sells bricks.
I know, that's amazing.
I've been across a load of sites where there's loads of bricks.
Yeah,
And there's
probably more than a brick factory at times.
Yeah, but so just tell me, what would an average day be for you in the world of selling bricks? Just really for me more than for the viewers and listeners, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's possibly very different for every company that probably does what we do. But we certainly sort of see everything from beginning to end, or I do. So on one day I'll be speaking to people that I've never spoken to before to try and open new doors. I'll be speaking to someone that I've nearly closed a sale on. I'll be speaking to a site because they've got a problem. I'm either in London seeing architects, or I'm running around sort of site visits. It's a very, very mixed day.
And what attracts you the most to it?
I really love, and I've always really enjoyed seeing a building built. And I found that quite amazing. So coming from a background of not business, or I didn't know how to sell anything. I just sort of knew how to speak to people. But I really love sort of walking around going, oh, I sold those. That's amazing. And just being a very, very small part of what ends up being such amazing projects. And
I guess in your world you experience the same as we do in our world, where we're on the selling side, but in the construction industry, the industry's got a few challenges, hasn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
And do you think we as an industry, I mean, you're somebody that, as I've said, I've never met a company that sells bricks. Do we as an industry look after ourselves correctly? Could we do more as an industry combined together?
I don't know, to be honest. I think as an industry we get quite a lot of bad press.
Yeah.
We get a lot of bad sort of rap. Everyone thinks, we're these horrible people that gobble up Greenland and, don't care about a community, don't care about, what they're building, which actually I think that couldn't be further from the truth.
Absolutely.
But I don't know exactly how you change that. The people I come across are amazing, in the industry. You make friends for life, and perhaps that sounds a bit soft, but
no, it's not soft. It's absolutely true. There's a lot of amazing people in the industry that give a lot.
Yeah.
Let alone that their daily jobs provide for the needs that Great Britain PLC have.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And is business good at the moment?
It's not as good as it was. Right. I think that everybody would absolutely say the same thing. We're still okay, but it's definitely challenging. I think I base most things on the brick industry. There's a factory called Freshfield Lane just south of London, and when the selected dark is ex-stock, the industry is pretty quiet. Because forever, I've obviously only been in it about 8 years, but it's always been on 26 weeks plus. And when that's on the floor and available, things are quiet.
And if you follow that flow chart, it means that we're not laying as many bricks.
We're not building as many houses.
And we're exactly that. And we have a growing population.
Yeah.
Well, when this podcast, this is being filmed today, but it will be a few weeks' time before it comes out. I think we've just experienced the local elections. I think the Conservatives have taken a good whack, I call it. And I think that's a lot to do with the economy, and a lot to do with the fact that they have no understanding of the crisis that sits in front of us. And your statement there brings that to me to light, to know that we're struggling.
Yeah, I think someone told me quite early on from starting that it's recession proof. This sort of industry, you build to get out of a recession. But it doesn't seem like
doesn't seem as though they're
being
interested,
encouraged at the moment.
No. Well, let's hope that the next government have a better understanding of what the country needs and starts moving things along so we can get the economy up and going.
Yeah.
I knew when I spoke to you on the telephone that I could see the passion, I could see the caring, I could see the work ethic. I want to take you back. I want to touch on the adversity element. 2014 wasn't a great year for you.
No, didn't end very well.
Do you want to just tell me about your mum and that journey?
Yeah, so mum was always, firstly, nothing to do with her illness, but the most caring and most amazing person that you'd ever want to meet. At the end, sort of towards the end, October-ish of 2014, she started to feel a little bit poorly, a little bit sort of flu-like. And very quickly, she was diagnosed with a terminal cancer. That we were told at that point from October that Christmas that year was probably quite optimistic for her to see. So I remember that being, you know, a real great shock. I'm up in Leicestershire at the time, and I was sort of going down every weekend, you know, to spend as much time with her as I could. And she became very, very poorly very, very quickly. They managed to start a bit of chemotherapy, and amazingly, against everything, she sort of turned around, really. She had a slightly sort of bizarre cancer, but there was a period of time where she had no active cancer. And we sort of, for me, I think I probably sort of thought, oh, it's not happening anymore. So, you know, she's not poorly. It doesn't, you know. She had about 2.5 years from the point that she was diagnosed to the point that she sadly did die.
And through that 2.5 years, did you manage to spend lots of time? You say you were working, you were getting down at weekends. Did you manage to spend quality time? Because you would have been sort of 25-ish at the time. It said no age is good.
Oh, no.
That's a tough age.
Yeah, no age is good. It was a struggle. I was still working with horses. I was self-employed, so I'm trying to make money. I wasn't very good at it when I worked with horses anyway. So it was such a fine balance. I wanted to spend as much time with my mum as possible, but I had to keep the wolf from the door, and I had animals to look after. So I had some very good friends that sort of helped me with the horses, and I did get back as much as possible. And then there was a point that she was doing really well. So then I sort of stopped coming home, and it's so difficult because then you fight yourself with guilt.
Yeah, you do.
You think,
you do, absolutely.
But I've got to live my life, and she'd want us to live our life. And then it was sort of the last year of her life. I was then employed by James, and as a company, they were absolutely amazing sort of through that period of time.
So they looked after you, supported you when you needed to.
Yeah, there was no question of what I could do. There was, you've got to work, obviously, and we've got to make money. But I could very much spend the time I needed to. And
in later days, she spent time at hospice?
Yes. Yeah, she was at the Duchess of Kent Zoo Rider, who were absolutely amazing. Like, the people that work in those places are sort of angels walking on earth.
I hear this all the time.
I don't know how they do it. I absolutely don't know how they do it. As a family, we absolutely wouldn't have coped, and there would have been no way that we could have managed.
They offer more than looking after the person that's unwell. They actually offer the family support as well, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And Mum had, obviously, she spent the last few weeks of her life there, but she'd been going for sort of respite and things like that, and sort of had them as a support system throughout her illness. I think just the last couple of weeks in an end-of-life facility are very challenging. It's a really bizarre thing to say because I don't envy anybody for losing a loved one. No. But when people say to you, they passed away peacefully, I envy that, because certainly with Mum, we didn't have that. No. And that's where I felt quite strongly at the time, and at some point I might try and do something about it, but I would very much sort of support euthanasia in end-of-life facilities, because people shouldn't have to suffer.
Well, I can relate to that. Both my parents are sadly gone, and both of them in different ways struggled. And
it's horrible to watch.
The latter days of their months and weeks weren't great. And I weigh this what you mentioned now up in my head, and I'm a pet lover. Lost a dog last year. We don't treat our animals the way we treat our loved ones when they're in that stage. And you use the word pass away peacefully. Yeah. I saw my dad in pain. I mean, the NHS, it gets a bad rap, but it does amazing jobs. Hospices, charities, let's go back to house building. It gives lots of money to charities. Yeah. The people are fantastic. Everyone does their best to make their latter stage journey as good as it can be, but it is painful. Yeah. And it's painful to watch as a relative, as a loved one, as a family member, a friend, someone. I mean, my dad was my best friend. Yeah. And he was an amazing man, and just to see they melt away, but in pain. It's the pain bit.
Oh yeah, and you can't take that away. I'd have taken it. I'd have just, give me the pain, do anything. But you sort of can't. And like you say, you touched on your dog, and
I mean, my dog, literally, I had to help her. I mean, she was, it was terrible, and it was the right thing to do. Yet we don't do that with loved ones, and it's a taboo subject. Let's be honest. We're not going to please everyone by talking about this. But I think once you experience it, I think it's when you're not. It's like anything. When you don't, it's not your experience.
Yeah,
it's tough to get your head around something.
Yeah, and you're not talking about just willy nilly. It's cases that are absolutely an end of life facilities that
you can see it. There is no way. There is no more treatment. They stop the treatment.
Yeah,
they just increase the pain. Levels that they can give to an extent
to help them
to deal with that scenario.
Yeah, but there's still. It can be a prolonged period of time that it takes, and it's takes the pain away, keeps someone's dignity.
Well, I think that you mentioned that you might want to do something in time. I think that's a really good thing, and I wish you well with that, because I think we should talk more about subjects in mental, emotional wellness. We need to talk about it. I mean, somebody close to me reached out yesterday on emotional wellness, not in a good place. Somebody that I think the outside world would not consider would be that way.
No.
But really had a bad weekend. And just by being able to talk about it helped.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to have the confidence to be brave, to stand up for what we believe in and talk about it. So I do wish you well on that journey. I'm with you on that side of it.
Yeah.
I think that it's a conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah.
For people going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I wouldn't want to be, if I put myself in that bed, I wouldn't want to be in that situation.
I think what we've got to remember is losing someone is terrible, but seeing him in so much pain,
it's worse.
is the real hurtful thing, because you know what the end goal is.
Yeah,
but
it's not going to change.
And it's not going to change, and you just go through this, and with loved ones particularly, it's brutal.
Yeah, very much so.
But I mean, I think there's a number of things we can talk about. Christine, your mum, she certainly, along with Dad, has made a special, lovely human being sitting opposite me.
Thank you.
Someone with strength, someone with character, great work ethic, all the things that I think are wonderful things in human beings. You wanted to give the hospice something back, didn't you?
Yeah, I think, roughly speaking, I think it costs about £400 a day per person that's in any of these end-of-life facilities. I don't know the exact figure, but it's there or thereabouts. And I think they're so important. A lot of them are charity funded, and without them, we couldn't survive. And especially through COVID, they lost a lot of opportunity to, raise funds, raise the coffee mornings, the walks that they would do.
All got stopped, didn't they?
Everything just got stopped. So, yeah, certainly myself and as a family, I think since Mum's gone, we've raised just shy of about 20,000.
Fantastic.
From a few different bits and bobs. And it's just so important. For me, I just felt like I wanted to give something back.
But you didn't just have a coffee morning, did you?
No. I had a couple of coffees en route, but it wasn't a coffee morning.
But I'm going to get my pronunciation wrong. I'm going to sound like Del Boy now, but Mount Ventoux is a very high mountain.
Yeah.
You decided back in 2017 that you would get on your bike.
Yeah.
And you would ride up and down it 3 times in one day.
Yeah. I know, it's a bit crazy. Yeah. Mum didn't want me to do that. She thought that was a stupid idea, it was crazy. And I had it planned actually for the May. But as the time came closer, she was obviously getting poorlier and poorlier. And the day I was supposed to do it was the day that she actually passed away.
Was it really?
Yeah, so I was like, it was a bit extreme, wasn't it, Mum? I know you didn't want me to do it, but...
I have something very similar. Whereas my dad, on this deathbed, I was in Chicago running the Chicago Marathon.
Wow.
For children with leukemia. Went to the States with my dad's blessing, knowing that I might not see him.
Yeah.
And midnight before the race, I got a call from a carer that he'd passed away. Wow. So we have something similar here.
Yeah.
So just just tell me about the mountain. I mean, most people would know what a marathon is. They've seen it. It was recent weeks, and they see it on TV. But tell us what your cycle journey involved. That 3 times in one day.
So Ventoux is like the infamous sort of mountain climb, I think, of the Tour de France. So I think that's how it came on my radar. I cycle, but I'm probably not an avid follower of cycling. And then somebody mentioned to me, and my pronunciation is probably going to be even worse, but there's a club that you can join, the Sanglaise de Mount Ventoux. So it's basically the crazy people of the Windy Mountain. I think it's what it means. And there are 3 things that you can do. So you can do it the 3 times, which is the Sanglaise. There's the 3 road routes and a mountain bike route, which you become a Galarian. And then there's the 3rd one, which is a bi-Sanglaise, which is the 3 road routes twice in a day. So you ultimately do it 6 times. You join the club, you pay €20, and you get your bike and you go cycling. And then you get a little plastic shield.
You make it sound so easy. How long does it take you to get up there one journey up?
The pros, I don't know how they do this, but they do it at sub an hour, about 59 minutes an hour,
right.
26 kilometres uphill.
It's a bit like marathon running, I mean.
They're insane, they're superhuman. Crazy. So your average cyclist is going to be about, an hour. A good cyclist is going to be an hour 45, 2 hours per climb.
And you did that 3 times in one day?
In September 2017, yeah.
Didn't stop there though, did it?
No.
Because in 2022, you decided that you'd go and do it 6 times.
Yeah.
Okay. So, why?
I did it the 3 times. Dad came with me, and it was great, raised money for Mum, very emotional. And I sat at dinner that night and sort of said, Dad, I want to come back, I'm going to do it 6 times. And he was like, well, if you do, you're doing it on your own. I don't want to watch you do that to yourself. I'm not interested. And
you train, I'm assuming?
As much as you can for a pen pusher. I don't have the time. You have as much time as you possibly can. And of course, I did my best. So COVID hit and I couldn't sort of do anything about it. And then, 2022 happened and the time was about right. And I persuaded Dad to come with me and support me. And we headed out. And I think, one of the biggest reasons was obviously to raise money. I think on that occasion, I raised about £12,000 the second occasion. But there's not many females that have ever done it.
Well, I'm told that you were the first British woman to actually do it 6 times.
Yes.
I'm just trying to get my head around once.
Yeah, so am I. And
painful. I mean, having run a few marathons in the past, you wouldn't believe it looking at me now, but I know where the pain. I mean, on a bike, it must be brutal on your legs.
I mean, I feel so much. I'm in awe of you running a marathon. I can't think of anything worse.
I didn't say I run all the way.
Well, making it from start to finish. It was crazy, of course. I think in my head mentally, a lot of it's stubbornness. It's not down to ability. It's not down to fitness. It's because I'm stubborn. I'd set myself up to fail the 4th climb. I'd said all along, I'm going to hit a wall on the 4th climb. It's going to be the hardest climb.
Did you hit the wall?
I hit every single brick wall you could possibly hit.
Did you?
Absolutely, but because I'd set myself up in my head. I'd done 3 in 2017, so I knew I could do 3. In my head, I was like, the 4th is going to be the hardest. But once I've done the 4th, the 5th and the 6th is easy. And it wasn't easy. I had an out-of-body experience on the 5th and the 6th, I think. But the 4th, there were times where I was still moving, but just traversing the mountain.
Well, it's interesting you say about the wall, because in my 6 marathons, I only ever hit the wall once.
Yeah.
I expected it, and people told me that it comes between 18 and 21 miles. And I actually got it at 15 miles. It was the best time I ever did. I did run that one. And it's a weird thing, isn't it? I hated everything.
You're fighting with yourself.
Yeah.
There's this little voice in your head.
I do that every day.
Yeah, we all do, don't we, to a point. But it was just this little voice.
So did you, at any time, did you want to get off the bike?
Oh, I was never going to do that. I knew I was never going to do that. But I couldn't. I just thought, I've got to do. I've not even done half of it. What am I going to do? I feel hideous. I feel sick. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I just sort of for moments was just sort of stationary, just weaving across the mountain.
You're just like going across that way. So when you get up, is it tough coming down?
Yeah, I hate descending. Because
I got a friend of mine that walks peaks, and he says actually it's tougher coming down.
Yeah, so I would climb all day. But descending is something that I think after I fell off my bike that time downhill, it hurt. And I'm of an age where you start to realise things don't sort of just bend back into place. The most fun I had, and I didn't think I would, obviously it was over a 24-hour period, so there was a lot of it done in the darkness. And my first descent was in the pitch black. I had no lights on my bike because the battery had run out. So I had my friend behind me in my pickup truck trying to keep up with me and light the road as I was going. And it was the most fun I've ever had in my life because I couldn't see where I was going. So I just...
That doesn't scare you?
No, I think it was the quickest I've probably ever been on a bike. So you're sort of touching 40 miles an hour downhill in the dark, and it was marvellous. And then as soon as the daylight came, I was scared of going downhill again. So
how long did it take you to do the 6 times?
I think I was cycling for a little bit over 18 and a half hours.
18 and a half hours?
Yeah.
And are you allowed to stop and have a cup of tea or...
Yeah, so at the bottom I'd have like a coffee and a bit of a snack. My body got to a point it wasn't taking food on board. I wasn't interested in food because I just felt utterly horrific. But yeah, you could stop, have a snack, have something to eat and drink and go. So I tried not to stop for long because...
Makes it longer.
Oh, it makes it longer and just getting going. So yeah, definitely being a bit sleep deprived was a bit difficult because you start at midnight.
Yeah.
So you've got up at probably 6 o'clock in the morning before, done your jobs, done whatever you need to do, and I hadn't really slept. I couldn't sleep. I thought I'd go to bed and sleep for a few hours before I start, but I couldn't. So by the time you finished it, you've been awake for...
Silly question, I don't ride a bike. Do you get many punches?
No, touch wood.
No,
I've been really lucky. I think I've had one puncture in all my cycling career.
Really?
Yeah. But that's probably a really smug thing to say, and I'm going to go and cycle at the weekend and blow out every single time.
You're going to phone me because you've got my number. You're going to phone me. You're going to be cursing.
Yeah, I'm going to be like, you owe me if you're in a tubes.
So, are you done with the madness of up and down mountains? Because I know you're not done with other things because I can just see in you. You're going to be...
Yeah. I think the answer I'm supposed to give you is yes, I'm done with the madness. But no, I'm not. I'm sure there's other things.
You're going to chase other stuff.
There's
Coffee mornings are so much more enjoyable, you know.
Oh, that's so
just,
cool.
you know, some cakes. And by the way, thank you for the lovely gift of flowers in a brick. It's very sweet. It's very kind of you.
First time you've met someone that sells bricks and they gave you flowers.
Well, do you know what? I'm going to meet more people that sell bricks now, for sure.
You should do. It's a fun industry.
So the one thing I know that you would have been doing on your cycle, you would have been thinking of Mum.
Yeah, absolutely. And she made sure I was thinking about her as well. And I'm not a sort of person that thinks about sort of, ghosts and things like this and the supernatural. But I obviously had set a playlist on my phone and it was 22 hours long, the playlist. I thought it's just going to shuffle constantly.
You broke it, you smashed it then because you was only up there 18,
exactly.
18
I thought,
and a bit.
Sure, exactly. It was perfect. So I thought, left it on, so it was just background noise in my ears, shuffled, didn't play the same song all day. And a kilometre before I got to the top of the last climb, it just randomly shuffled to Mum's Song, which is a song that as children we used to dance around the kitchen to. We knew all the steps and we played it, I think, at Mum's funeral, and it's Mud's Tiger Feet.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
and I just thought, of all songs for it to have shuffled to, I was like, thanks, Mum. I know you're here. You know, a kilometre before the top of the last climb, it was...
Well...
Made me cry. I was like, thanks, that really helped.
Well, you are allowed to cry.
Yeah.
You know, it's I'm good at crying.
I've got better at it.
And I say to my mates, you know, cry.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with crying.
It makes you feel better.
Well, it also opens you to thinking about things that you lock away, and it opens you up to conversation. So that's a good thing. Well, Mum did turn up with a kilometre to go.
She did.
But she's with you every day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You hear their voice, don't you? They
do.
brought you up.
Oh,
So the person you
absolutely.
are is them.
I mean, my mum scares me because she was always moaning at me. My dad was always... But she's with you every day, as is your dad.
Yeah.
Your dad speaks so fondly and so lovingly of you. I think the pair of them have made an amazing human being.
Thank you. It's very...
I've really enjoyed sitting with you. I've really enjoyed listening to your journey, except getting on a bike and riding uphill or walking uphill.
You should come for a ride. It's fun. It's good for you.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've got an electric bike.
Yeah.
So when I go past you, I have actually been out back a few years back. When I had my hip done, I got an electric bike.
Yeah.
And my wife, who's quite fit, went out on her bike, and I was behind, but there was a guy cutting his lawn on this hill.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I've got to do this. And I just pressed the old accelerator in it, went past her at a speed of knots. I did have some lycra on, a little bit of a tummy there. And as I went by, this bloke he stopped mowing his lawn. He couldn't believe it because he didn't know I had an electric bike. He thought I was sort of, Eddie Merckx, who's an old racing bike rider back in the day, going up this hill. But I might come out on the bike. When you do a charity, if you do a charity thing, as long as I can bring me electric one, I'll come and do a little charity ride with you for sure.
The amount of people that passed me on Ventoux on an electric bike going, bonjour,
It's the way forward, trust me, it's the way forward.
I'll let you bring your electric bike.
I'll definitely do that. But going back, Mum will be looking down, be very proud of you.
Thank you.
It's been lovely to spend some time with you.
And you.
Really enjoyed it. I'm sure we're going to keep in contact, talk about things, and maybe I'll come to have a little tour of a brick factory one day.
I love taking people around brick factories.
So take me on a tour of a brick factory.
As long as you buy a couple of bricks.
Well, I haven't got anywhere to put them. I need another couple for the table.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'll come and buy a couple, but really enjoyed your company.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Viewers, listeners, another end to another episode of Blighty Talks Bricks. They're all different. I enjoy all of them. This one's been touching for me in so many ways, and I hope you've enjoyed the conversation I've had with Laura. I look forward to seeing you for the next episode. Take care, stay safe, and get on your bike. See you soon.